Jonathan, the number one problem that we see all the time when it comes to people's fitness is just having a bad relationship with food, right?
Yeah, I feel like the decisions that people make around the table is what holds them back from really being in the shape they want a lot of the times.
That's the truth. Today we're talking about getting that confidence at the table, getting that healthy relationship with food, and breaking the dieting cycle with the +1 method of nutrition.
You're listening to the Pathway Podcast, leading you on the path to fitness success. Here are your hosts, Jonathan Canales and Rex Andrews.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Pathway Podcast. I'm Rex.
And I'm Jonathan.
Jonathan, food. Gotta love it.
I do love it. It's great.
I do too, man. Taco about food, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Taco
man.
joke.
That was a bad joke.
Was it?
What was the punchline?
Taco about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you have to explain the joke, it's probably not a good joke.
So bad jokes about food, bad relationships with food. We got all of them today, right?
Yeah. We're getting into it.
But yeah, man, I think, like you said, a lot of times when people get started with fitness, right, you know, we have a goal we want to get into. We want to drop fat. We want to drop inches. We want to feel good. And a lot of times the first thing that we turn to is like a diet, right?
Yeah, that's what we're taught. You know, it's like in order to be in the shape that you really want to, in order to have that confidence whenever you look in the mirror, you really have to be on some sort of diet in order to make that happen, which I don't really think is the case.
Yeah, I know from my own experience, when I would go on a hardcore diet, right, I'm trying to like work for this specific date, like a vacation, or like for me when I was having wrestling matches, I'd be super restricted and, you know, I'd get results, but then as soon as the date was there and it was over, man, I would just go off the rails, going back to like the food that I liked, right? Like all the things I couldn't have.
Yeah, and it's when you spend so much time in that restrictive cycle dieting, it's easy to start feeling sorry for yourself of like, well, I can't have pizza or I can't have ice cream. And it's just when you end that diet and you're at your result, you feel like now I can go eat whatever I want that I've been holding myself back from for so long. And it just doesn't have to be that way. Like I know Bobby, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about him. His story, one time he decided to have surgery and he lost 100 pounds that way.
Yeah, Bobby struggled with his weight his entire life, right? Like since he was a kid, he said like he's always been overweight. He was at like 350 something pounds, and then was like, I got to do something about this. So went for the lap band surgery.
Yeah, and it was just something where he was kind of like we were, where it was like struggling with nutrition for his entire life, and he finally reached this breaking point where like, I just don't want to deal with this anymore. So I'm going to take the easy way out and get surgery and do it. But then he didn't have the habits in place. And it's just like when you go on that diet and get that result, and then you go back, if you don't know what to eat, or if you still have a lot of pressure around it and you're just eating whatever you want, then it's going to come back. And that's what happened. He put on that 100 pounds. So
it was just like 6 months, right? Like a super short period of time.
Yeah, super short period of time. And it's just crazy because you think that's a lot of weight to happen in 6 months.
And you had surgery. Like that's a big commitment.
Yeah,
like, you're going to fix this, right?
Yeah, it's just like not only is it the time investment of like doing that, but the money investment and like all of that stuff, it's a big thing. So you would think, okay, if I had the surgery, I'm really going to change my lifestyle. But you see that with so many people. They're just looking for that quick fix, whether it's surgery or that diet, when really they have to figure out how to have that healthy relationship with food. And that's what Bobby did the second time that he lost 100 pounds. He came to us at Pathway and he realized, okay, if I'm working out, I have to do this nutrition thing too. And then he joined one of my nutrition courses and really got going with that and started learning, oh, I can eat, whatever I want within a certain amount or
knew how to make it fit his goals.
Yeah, just he learned the basics of nutrition and tried to figure out like what can I have and still enjoy food. Mm-hmm. And then now he's lost 100 pounds again. He did that in like 9 months.
Right.
And he's kept it off for over a year and a half. And he's just enjoying the process. He still eats cake. He still eats like salmon and different fish and stuff. And he's healthy, but he's living that balanced lifestyle.
Yeah, he always lets us know when he has like cake or like pizza.
Yeah. He feels like it's like confession or something. I got to come tell you exactly what I ate.
Yeah, but he has such a handle on it. Yeah, and he keeps pushing himself to do better. Like now he wants to go skydiving, right? So he keeps pushing the weight down further.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely the difference in getting a healthy relationship with food, right? Now Bobby's in control of it. He lost the weight, and yeah, he still has days where he struggles, you know? But here he is a year and a half later, still has the weight off, still moving in the right direction. And that's the difference, right? You do the quick fix solution, give yourself rules like, I'm going to do this lap band. And the way lap band works is it forces you to just eat a small amount.
Yeah.
So he's eating that small amount, gets the result, but that's not sustainable, right? He blew through it, blew the lap band, gained all the weight back right away. Instead of the sustainable route of taking control, learning the basics, and taking ownership over his relationship with food, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the intimidating things for a lot of people is nutrition seems so complex. And it's like, I can never just learn the basics of nutrition. But it really isn't that hard to learn the basics of what you need to really just fuel yourself and feel good. And you're still seeing progress and enjoying the tacos that you might like to talk about.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, I know your history, right? I know you've been coaching people in nutrition for a couple of years. You've been studying it. You have a degree in kinesiology, but you have your own struggles with weight loss in the past, right?
Yeah, and I think just exactly how we're talking about Bobby and exactly how we've been saying, and you were saying, like, I had a lot of pressure around nutrition, you know, because I always wanted to be this person that was in like really good shape. You know, I studied kinesiology. I knew how to work out, but the food side of things, I was just going all in or nothing. You know, it was like, okay, look at myself in the mirror. I need to lose weight. And then it was like, let's go clear out everything in the pantry and the fridge, start this new diet and get going with it. And then maybe see progress for a little while and think like, oh, okay, that diet worked. But then I would just go right back to what I was eating, and then I would put all the weight back on. And so after doing that time and time again, it gets really frustrating because you're like, what diet is finally going to be the one that helps, the one that sticks? But what I realized was none of them were going to work if it was just eat what I was supposed to eat on that diet for a certain period of time. And then after that, if I didn't have any of my own rules of like how to maintain that or how to keep seeing progress past that, then I was just going to go right back to my old habits. And I'm like putting a Band-Aid on for a little while, and then it's just going right back. So you have to have some sort of just game plan that's not all in on this diet where you're feeling restrictive and you're feeling like the hunger headaches and all of the negative aspects that come with dieting. And it's just something that you enjoy and that you're seeing progress.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So what was the thing that you realized that made the big shift?
I think for me, it was really once I started getting into studying nutrition and seeing that once you're studying nutrition and you're understanding like what's going into your body and seeing that it's not this I have to eat healthy all the time sort of thing. And the people that see the most progress are the people that make those small changes and are able to keep them consistent over time. So I knew that, but I hadn't experienced it myself. I hadn't ever said, okay, well, let me try that. And once I actually started trying that, it was like, oh, wow, you can see results whenever you just make little changes and stick to them. And so once I started doing that and started saying, okay, this doesn't need to be this big pressure thing where I need to lose a certain amount of weight by this goal. I just need to learn to eat to fuel myself properly, to feel better, to like have more focus at work, to have more energy during my workouts, and to actually like the way I looked in the mirror. And it was just making these small changes over time and not eating fast food 5 times a week.
Right. So balancing it, right? So building that solid foundation for yourself and then just keep leveling up one step at a time and continue to make those improvements.
Yeah, and it was really just like trying to see, okay, what am I eating? Because I think that's a big thing that a lot of people aren't aware of, right? It's just like, yeah, I eat pretty healthy, but then you're having the little snacks or maybe desserts, and if you're doing that night in and night out, then that adds up. Even though you might feel like you're eating pretty healthy, it just isn't what you need to get where you want to go. And so it's just like being aware of everything that you're putting into your body, and then it becomes way easier to say, oh, well, I have been eating ice cream like 3 times a week. What if I just stopped doing that? And then you do that for a few weeks, like, oh, wow, I actually feel better. And, like, I don't wake up with, like, a stomach ache in the morning or something like that. And so you start to see how your body's actually responding to the food that you're putting into it, and becoming more aware of that is huge, because then you're like, well, I don't want to eat Whataburger because I'm going to feel like crap afterwards, instead of just eating it all the time and that just being the normal of you feeling that way. You actually understand this is not good for me, and not just like, I need to taste this.
Yeah.
And this is now. I need to have it.
And you probably don't even recognize that you're not feeling good eating that stuff until you stop, right?
No, and I'm sure most people that have dieted, same sort of thing. You eat healthy for a little while, and then you go right back to like pizza or Whataburger or something, and immediately you feel bad. But when you're eating that stuff on the regular, you don't have that same reaction, because your body's just like, well, this is what you're giving me, so I'm just going to have you always be tired, have you not have like the energy you really need, and you just think that that's how it is. Maybe it's like I'm getting older or whatever excuse you give it, but that's just not how you should be feeling if you're actually thinking about eating to fuel yourself and eating to be healthy.
Makes sense. So how would you explain the difference in like +1 nutrition versus like a regular diet?
I would say a regular diet just has you like gives you a set of rules and says only eat these things, and then you're going to be successful. You'll lose the weight or whatever you want to do. And it restricts you from a lot of the types of foods that you really enjoy. And so a lot of the times during that, you're feeling miserable as you're going through it, because you're feeling deprived of the foods that you really enjoy. Whereas the +1 method of nutrition is not like that at all. It's just saying, hey, there are foods out there that taste good and are healthy, but you have to figure out what those are for you, and then try to eat more of those and less of the stuff that you know doesn't make you feel good. So it's not necessarily don't ever eat anything that's bad for you, but it's just like, what did you do this week? And like, how can you improve from next week? Or like day to day, meal to meal, trying to look for those improvements. But a lot of the times when I know I wasn't happy with my weight, or I wasn't happy with my relationship with food, you tend to just avoid even thinking about that. So the +1 method makes you think about nutrition, but without the pressure. And you just know that if I just keep making better choices, then I'm going to see the results that I want.
That's awesome, man. And taking clients through it, right? Like I know Julie was a great example.
Yeah. So that's honestly probably like the coolest part. Like Julie, she was someone kind of like me who was like, I'm kind of scared of nutrition. It seems confusing, and I don't really want to even try at it. So I'm just going to keep working out. And once we actually had her sit down and learn like the basics of what nutrition was, and start becoming aware of like what she was putting into her body, and then making those little changes, she was amazed by how easy it was to still see the progress. When she went through our 6-week challenge, she actually said like the most surprising part was how easy it was to do this and still enjoy my life. So it doesn't have to be this big thing that you build up in your head that is like impossible for you to do. But if you just commit to, I'm trying to make a better choice, and identify where you're struggling and say, what can I do instead? Then it really isn't that much pressure, because you're focusing on one thing at a time versus overhauling everything all at once and expecting yourself to be perfect right from the bat when it's not anything that's fit into your life before.
And it is a process, right? Like you said, week to week, getting better and improving. So
and some weeks you don't improve. Some weeks you're like, oh man, crazy week at work, and this happened, and I know I didn't do what I was supposed to, or I didn't get better, but just coming back at it that next week and giving yourself some grace and saying, okay, I know last week was bad. What happened? Why was it bad? And like, how can I improve for next week? If that happens again, what would I do differently? And a lot of the times it's just thinking through those situations and asking yourself what you really want to do versus just avoiding it altogether and say, well, I tried and it didn't work. I can't do that, and giving up.
And what's the best way to stick to something like that?
I think the best way to stick to something like that is just being accountable to somebody else, or just having a process with yourself. Like I know for me, each week I'll sit down and like write out exactly what I want to eat and have like a game plan for that, even if it is like eating out or anything, but just keeping yourself accountable. And for a lot of the times when you're just getting started, that's really difficult to keep yourself accountable. So it just helps so much to have a coach along the way who's been through what you're trying to go through and understands where you're at, understands the struggle, and can just help you make those adjustments. So it's not only sticking to it and staying accountable, but you're not having to think about what should I do to actually improve, and you're just acting and executing.
Yeah, and I know that it's a lot less pressure, it's less restrictive, and a lot of times we'll have clients who did diets before and saw less results on more restrictive diets. They do this like, oh, this is way easier and I get better results, right?
Yeah.
I love Clint's 6 months and 6 months story.
Yeah, dude, that is probably my favorite story. Because Clint, 6 months was trying to lose weight, realized he needed to do something. Because he went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, dude, if you don't do something about this now, then your life is going to be shortened. And that's huge. And so he's like, okay, I got to do something. And he tries it on his own for 6 months. He loses like 10 pounds. And he's like, there's got to be a different way. And then he reached out to us. And, he starts working out and gets into that. And we're talking about nutrition, and we're making those small tweaks along the way. And he went from pretty unhealthy diet, like over 300 pounds and on the verge of all sorts of health risks, to making small changes like week in and week out, and like really keeping himself accountable and like just trying to improve. And now he's lost over 70 pounds in a year from just making those small improvements. And he still enjoys life. He still goes to social events. He's not on a diet. He's just figuring it out, making better choices when he does go out to eat, and just improving. And so if I were to ask him to go on a diet, that didn't work for 6 months. But when you make those small switches, it becomes way more manageable, and you start to believe that you can, and then you stay consistent long enough to actually get the results.
Man, yeah, that's an awesome story. I know another one is Melissa, right?
Yeah.
Where she didn't even, I love like like, Mom, you're not even hangry anymore. I didn't know I was hangry.
Yeah. Well, and so a lot of this whole diet culture, it has you eat way less, right? And so there's all these diets out there where it's like 1,200 calories or don't eat carbs. And so what happens a lot of the times is you start to get those headaches, you're low energy, you're feeling miserable as you're trying to diet to lose these weights. And Melissa was somebody who just wasn't really eating enough. So she would have like these hunger headaches midday and come home hangry, and her kids would be she didn't even know, but like apparently she would get moody whenever she got home. And she kept saying, there's no way that I could ever eat more, or like I can't eat breakfast. And once she had that coach and that extra accountability saying, hey, let's just try this for a little while and see if it can fit into your lifestyle. Here's a few examples of fast, easy, quick things that you can do in the morning. She was able to stay consistent with it. And in a matter of weeks, her kids are saying, Mom, like you're not coming home like angry anymore. So that's like improving your quality of life and getting into better shape while you do it. And it's giving you confidence to saying, man, if I just made that one change and it made that much of a difference, what else can I do? And how much more of a difference will that make? And it just helps you keep going.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. So it's kind of like tie it all together, right? Give me the rundown. Like, what is the +1 method of nutrition? And in the 6-week challenge, what are we doing with people with that?
Yeah, so we have the lifestyle fitness challenge because we know that it is hard to fit nutrition into your everyday lifestyle. So what we've done is we've taken a list of foods and said, hey, if we can just try to eat these foods more often than not, you're going to see really great results. But obviously there's going to be things that come up where you might not be able to be in control of what you're eating, or you might be at a social event, or you might just be really tired and not do it. But the thing is, from week to week, we're looking for improvements. And we're teaching you how to fit this into your lifestyle, how to actually make it work and make it stick, so that at the end of the 6 weeks, it doesn't feel like something that is this diet that's impossible that you could never do, because you've been coached on how to make those switches. If you are going to go off plan, what is a good choice? And you're just making those improvements from day to day, from week to week. And there's no pressure because you understand that it's just about improving, and that this 6 weeks is just the beginning to launch your new fitness journey, your new nutrition journey. And it's been amazing to see all of these people that have gone through it and their new relationship with food, and them saying, wow, this really isn't that hard. I can do this, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I can just keep making improvements, learn from my mistakes, but I don't have to avoid this altogether and just eat whatever I want.
Yeah, man. That's what it's all about, getting that healthy relationship with food, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So that's what we're doing with the +1 method of nutrition, guys. And this solves the problem of dieting forever, because you know how to eat. You know how to make it fit into your life. So if you want to know more about this, you want to know more about the challenge, all together, go to www.pathwaychallenge.com, get all the info, and get started on making fitness fit into your lifestyle.